All right, let's talk about something pretty incredible. You know that massive, explosive sound you get in a movie theater? How in the world does that get delivered to your living room through a regular old broadcast signal? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on digital audio compression. It's really the unsung hero that makes modern broadcasting even possible. So, let's dive in.
Okay, before we really get going, just a quick heads up. This is part 10 of our big 40-part series on modern broadcast studios, which is all based on the great text from Virtualization Options LLC. And for this one, we're zeroing in on chapter 10, all about digital audio.
So yeah, that really is the big question, isn't it? How do you take that huge, rich, immersive sound, the kind you get in a cinema, and somehow squeeze it into the tiny little pipe that is a broadcast signal? This is the fundamental challenge, the puzzle that audio engineers have to solve every single day.
And really, it all boils down to one thing: space. You've only got so much room in the pipe. Every broadcast channel, doesn't matter if it's over the air or streaming, has a hard limit on its bandwidth. And that uncompressed, high-quality audio we all crave, it's huge. I mean, surprisingly big. So we've got to find a way to make it fit.
So to get that cinematic feeling at home, what we use is something called multi-channel audio. And the standard, the one you've probably heard of, is 5.1 surround sound. It's pretty straightforward, really. You've got 5 main channels to give you that sense of direction. And then there's that dedicated 6th channel, the .1. That's for all the low-frequency stuff. You know, the LFE channel. That's what gives you that deep, satisfying rumble in action movies.
Yeah, and here's a great look at that classic 5.1 setup. You've got your front left, center, and right speakers, which create that main soundstage right in front of you. Then, you've got the 2 surround speakers for all the ambient sounds, the stuff happening around you. And of course, the subwoofer for that low-end punch. For you, the viewer, it's an amazing, immersive experience. But for an engineer, man, each one of those channels is another stream of data that they have to cram into that signal.
And this really is the bottom line. If you tried to send all 6 of those channels totally uncompressed, raw audio, they would just gobble up a massive chunk of your bandwidth. I mean, you'd barely have any room left for the actual video. It's not even an option. No way.
So, this brings us to the really clever solution: psychoacoustic modeling. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is brilliant. It's a compression technique that basically exploits the weaknesses of human hearing. Think about it. The algorithm figures out which sounds are going to be covered up or masked by louder sounds. Or maybe some sounds are just too quiet for our brains to even notice. And then it just throws that data away. It strategically removes all the stuff you are never going to hear anyway. And the result? A way smaller file that, to your ears, sounds pretty much identical to the original. It's like magic.
Okay, so the tools that actually do all this smart packing are called codecs. It's just short for coder-decoder. And these are the specialized algorithms, the real workhorses that do the heavy lifting, compressing the audio on the broadcast side and then decompressing it on your TV or your phone.
This table gives us a really nice snapshot of the main players in the codec toolkit. So you've got Dolby Digital, or AC3. That's the old reliable, the established standard for years in ATSC broadcasts and in cinemas. It's the king of 5.1. Then you have AAC. This one's all about high efficiency. It's used everywhere in modern TV because it just sounds better at lower data rates. And finally, there's Dolby Digital Plus, or EAC3. Think of this as the next-gen version. Even more efficient, and it can handle way more channels, up to 15.1. That's why it's so important for new stuff like ATSC 3.0 and streaming.
Yeah, for a really long time, Dolby Digital was the standard for broadcast audio, especially in North America. Its biggest strength was that it was just so reliable, and it's what brought that 5.1 surround sound experience into our living rooms. And because it was the standard for so long, pretty much every device out there has a decoder for it. That kind of massive compatibility, man, in broadcasting, that's just gold.
All right, so now let's look at AAC. This is pretty much the modern go-to codec, the successor to AC3. And its big advantage? It's all about efficiency. It uses smarter psychoacoustic modeling, which means you get better sound quality without using as much data. And that efficiency, that's exactly why it's been adopted by basically every major digital TV standard on the planet. ATSC, DVB in Europe, ISDB in Japan, you name it.
But here's the thing. The evolution of audio compression isn't just about making things smaller and more efficient anymore. No. The next big thing, the real frontier, is making the entire audio experience interactive. We're talking about letting you personalize it. And this is where things get really cool.
Okay, to really get your head around this shift, let's look at this comparison.
The old way, channel-based audio, that's like getting a fully baked cake. The broadcaster mixes everything together, and every single viewer gets the exact same slice. That's it. But object-based audio, that's totally different. It's like getting all the ingredients delivered to your house: the flour, the eggs, the sugar, the dialogue, the music, the sound effects. They're all sent as separate objects with a recipe. And then your device, your TV or your soundbar, does the final mixing right there in your living room.
And the key piece of tech making all this possible is called MPGH audio. This is a huge deal. It's a core part of the next generation broadcast standard ATSC 3.0, and its whole reason for being is to move past those old fixed channels and instead deliver these audio objects. What does that mean? It means it's handing control of the final mix over to you, the viewer.
So, what can you actually do with this? Well, a lot. It means if you're watching a movie and can't quite hear the dialogue over the explosions, you can just turn up the dialogue. Or imagine you're watching a big game. You could switch from the national commentators to your local home team's radio feed. It completely changes the game. Your viewing experience goes from being passive to being totally active and customized by you.
Okay, but with all this fancy, sophisticated processing happening to both the audio and the video, a huge problem pops up. It's actually one of the oldest and most annoying challenges in all of broadcasting, keeping the audio and video in perfect sync.
Right? That's the million-dollar question. How do we avoid that horrible, dreaded lip sync error? You know, when someone's mouth is moving but the words are just off. It's so much harder to fix than you'd think, mainly because the audio and the video signals are being processed on completely different paths, at different speeds.
And this number right here, this is what keeps broadcast engineers up at night. Plus or minus 40 milliseconds. That is the entire window you have to play with. To put that into perspective, a single frame of video is only about 33 milliseconds. So you have a margin for error that is literally thinner than one frame of video. It's absolutely razor thin.
So what's going on is basically a race against time, but the runners are starting at different times. The video processing, that takes a good chunk of time and introduces a big delay. But the audio compression adds its own, different delay, maybe 30 to 100 milliseconds. What ends up happening is the audio is now ahead of the video. So what's the solution? Well, it's this kind of brilliant counterintuitive trick. Engineers intentionally hold back the audio, the faster signal, at the very end of the line. They add a precise delay just to let the slower video catch up, so they both hit the finish line at the exact same time.
And, as our source text, AM, FM, and television broadcast engineering points out, this is not a set it and forget it kind of problem. Not at all. It is a persistent challenge. It's an ongoing battle that needs constant attention and super careful system design from the whole engineering team.
All right, so let's wrap this up with the key things to remember. First, compression is absolutely essential. It's the only way we can deliver multi-channel audio over the air. Second, the main tools for the job are codecs like the classic Dolby Digital and the newer, more efficient AAC. Third, the future is all about being interactive, thanks to object-based codecs like MPGH. And last, but definitely not least, keeping everything in perfect lip sync is a massive, ongoing engineering challenge that makes or breaks the whole experience.
Which really brings us to a final, pretty wild question to think about. As this interactive, object-based stuff becomes the new normal, are we heading for a future where every single one of us is basically our own personal sound mixer, just tailoring the audio for every single thing we watch? It's a really fascinating thought. And the craziest part is, as we've just seen, the technology to make it happen isn't science fiction. It's already here. Thanks for joining.